Hello everyone, Maurice here. Today I'm bringing you another meta report for Axie Infinity Origins Season 8. Now it's the final era. So, well, kind of already sort of have a winners. It's close to it at least because there only another day or two to go. And it looks like Poison, especially with the sleep variant, might be topping the Season 8. And there are actually kind of like three teams that are pretty much identical teams that are really doing very well at the top. So at this point, pretty hard to see, how they might lose the lead. So there we kind of getting close to a winner at this point. But having said that, there are, well, actually a lot of different archetypes, like nine different archetypes. So of course, depending on how you define it, like, some people might define poison with like poison with sleep in a different archetype, right? But in my point of view, then roughly around nine archetypes get into the top 100. So yeah, definitely like a pretty diverse meta at the top as well, which is not very common. So in that sense, it's a good sign, but doesn't mean that it's perfect. Of course, there's still a lot of things that can be improved on, that we will get into later. Okay, so in terms of player base, so you can see here, maybe I'll just look at the number first. It's actually getting quite close to 100,000 players, and not quite for this season. Hopefully, in the future seasons, we can actually get to see that kind of number. Of course, it's still quite far from like the peak of like Axie in terms of 2021, like Axie Classic stuff. But maybe we can get there at some point. Who knows? Okay, so yeah, that's pretty much all I want to say. Of course, now more and more players get into Challenger, which is good. Now actually there are more, yeah, about 6,600 players getting a Challenger, which is actually not bad for this season. Okay, in terms of archetype usage, of course, there are only like two or three players at the top bracket at the moment. Yeah, Poison. Maybe a bit of Brutal Claw, but I think yeah, mostly Poison. But yeah, ignore the top, then you can see that pretty much a lot of different things can be viable. Doesn't mean everything is viable, so that's still something to be improved. There's still certain things that are just higher power level than others. Um, okay, so yeah, one thing that I do mention, I did write quite a bit about it, and it's basically about certain balancing. I would say Cuckoo will be one example where, yeah, it was looking quite well, right? But the fact that this whole one energy effect can just be removed by like a Black Sage, basically like a 3 PP rare charm, just doesn't really feel that good, right? Just in that sense, it's like, yeah. mm, of course, it might be too strong if it cannot be dispelled, but like then can the power level can be adjusted, right? So it's just that this kind of thing, right? It just feels bad, right? That a certain card, which actually is pretty good, right? But it can just be countered by something very simple. So Oh, and it doesn't have much of a cost, right, to it. That's just a free PP rare charm, basically. And I would say the other things that I do hope is that, of course, there's some change, right? Of course, nobody wants to play the same season again and again, right? And definitely there will be some changes next season just to, make things fresh for, you know, existing players, of course. And so, yeah, hopefully I'm expecting like some big nerfs, big buffs as well, just so that you can see different archetypes having a chance to get to the top. Of course, it's not easy, is because, especially being like a Web3 NFT game, there's definitely an additional factor to consider where the value of the access, the assets might change. Just because of balance changes. Of course, certain teams will be a lot more expensive if they can rise to the top, that kind of thing. So that's why not too easy, but that's just my hope. Okay, then in terms of the archetype win rates, pretty stable by now, I must say. It's yeah, of course poison actually pretty interesting that the poison sleep stuff especially is really doing very well. It's one of those that rare cases where yeah people are really saving it for the final era, right? Not really like showing it much before, and really now it's like, really outperforming the rest. Yeah, and then mid sleep as well, right? Also climbing. So those are the only two that really is like climbing that in that sense. Mid is actually pretty new in the epic, sorry, in the I'll call it Mr. Era, but the final era. Um, of course, there's still stuff that are going down, like Cuckoo, Spikes. Those are, I would say, players are basically trying to already working out, especially lower level player or at least mid challenger player, working out how to play against those, and yeah, that's why they're just falling. Unfortunately, just the power level is just not there, right? As I said about Cuckoo, for example. Okay, so in terms of the archetype matchup as well, so you can see it's pretty similar to last week, to be honest. I guess one thing I could mention is like meat sleep, which is pretty polarizing, I must say. Not the best the kind of scenario, because I do feel that one of the things I hope is that for Axie Origins is of course, the hope is that at least for every single game, I do feel like I should have a chance of winning. So probably not a very popular opinion, but I do hope that there's more RNG involved. Maybe like there was a opponent have bad, bad draws or something, like bad enough that I can actually win like a not so favorable matchup. But in some cases, you really just know, okay, you're just gonna lose this because the matchup is just so bad, or like that kind of thing. So it's not great, but so Meat Sleep, right, is one of those that is pretty very good against, let's say, Brutal Claw, against Feather, but it's just not much chance against Healing Pulse, let's put it that way. And then actually there are other archetypes that are pretty bad for Meat Sleep as well, even though they're not too popular. So yeah, the gist of it is that ideally, if you can, well, eliminate all those very polarizing matchup that will just make the game feels better at least. Okay, so yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to say for this season. I do hope that the the balancing team can continue to improve Origins gameplay and actually play experiences as well. I must say, season 8 is already a very big improvement compared to last season. So yeah, let's just hope that it will continue with that trend and hopefully more and more players will join. Okay, so that's it for today, and I'll see you in pretty much well next season.